story of Asipattle and the Stoor Worm. It was many, many, many years ago, in the very far reaches of the north of Scotland, there lived a lad called Asipattle, who was the seventh son of the seventh son. Now, as you know, and I know, and everybody else knows, the seventh son of the seventh son was somebody who sees the magic in the world. And although Asipattle lived on a farm where there was always work to do, he liked to spend his days sitting in the house, watching the flames in the peat fire, for there he could see all sorts of adventures, all sorts of magic, the wizards, fine ladies, heroines, knights in shining armour, and terrible monsters. But life would have carried on like this had there not been one terrible dark day when an evil monster did in fact come to the north of Scotland, the Stoor Worm. And having swum all the way up to the coast, the Stoor Worm stopped all the fishing boats from leaving. And after some time without the fish, people began to become hungry. It was a dark, dark time. And the king at the time, for every little country in Scotland had its own king, the king did what people tend to do. He called a committee. And the committee sat around and came to the conclusion that committees usually come to. They needed a consultant. Now, a wise man in that part of the world is called a spaeman, kind of a wizard. So I have a wizard here. Here he is. I can make him wave to you. And the spaeman said, the Stoor Worm is hungry. The Stoor Worm demands to be fed. And the Stoor Worm demands 9 maidens to be given on the first Saturday of every month. So the first Saturday of the month came, and 9 young unmarried women were taken to the beach and left for the Stoor Worm to devour. And watching from the cliff tops was Asipattle, who looked down and said, "This isn't right. This isn't how it should be. This isn't how it is in stories. For in stories, someone always comes and rescues the damsel in distress." The king realised that it wasn't right that 9 innocent lives should be given every month. So he called another meeting and he spoke to his spaeman again. And the spaeman said, the only other option is to offer your own daughter as sacrifice. Now the king's daughter, Jem de Lovely, was beloved of everyone. And she agreed to sacrifice her own life if it would save the lives of the other women, and if the Stoor Worm would leave them in peace so that people could fish once more. So there was but a month before Jem de Lovely would be given to the Stoor Worm. And the king sent out messengers saying that any hero who could kill the Stoor Worm and prevent this from happening would have a hand of his only daughter, his only child, in marriage, and eventually inherit the little kingdom in northern Scotland. And young men rode swiftly to the little kingdom at the north of Scotland. But when they looked at the Stoor Worm and they saw the size of the ugly, hideous, evil beast, they simply turned their horses round and rode off into the distance. And so the day drew nearer when Jem de Lovely would offer herself to the Stoor Worm. That night, as he lay in his narrow bed, the answer to the problem came to Assi-Pattel. He crept downstairs, went in the stable and kind of borrowed his father's horse and rode as fast as he could to the beach, and he took with him his mother's iron three-legged cooking pot, and in the cooking pot was some still smouldering peat from the family fire. And when Assi-Pattel got to the beach, he kind of borrowed one of the fishing boats, and he sailed out to where the Stoor Worm, with its great gaping mouth, was stopping all the boats from sailing away. And Assi-Pattel sailed his little boat straight into the great gaping mouth of the Stoor Worm, and he sailed his little boat down the gullet and all the way down inside the Stoor Worm until he found his liver, which was full of rich oil. So Assi-Pattel took the smouldering peat from his mother's fire and put it in the Stoor Worm's liver, where it caught fire and burned all the oil. And the Stoor Worm writhed in agony and opened its great mouth, and Assi-Pattel simply sailed his little boat out through the gaping open mouth. But as the Stoor Worm writhed in its agony, lifted its great long neck, and some say that its tongue even reached the moon. But in all honesty, you really don't want to believe everything that storytellers tell you. As the Stoor Worm's great long neck crashed down into the sea, he made the great fissure that separates Denmark from Norway. And in its agony, the Stoor Worm began to swim north, and teeth fell from its gaping open mouth. And those teeth became the Orkney Islands. And he swam further north, and more teeth fell out. And those teeth became the Shetland Islands. And he swam further north, and his teeth fell out. And those remaining teeth became the Faroe Islands. And the Stoor Worm swam even further north, and then collapsed into the sea. And if ever you travel that far north, you will find the great hulk of the body of the Stoor Worm is still there as a land of ice and snow. And you will find that his liver still burns from the peat that Assi-Pattel placed there. And from time to time, the flames fly up from the land. Now that part is true. So of course, having defeated the Stoor Worm by cunning and guile, rather than by a sword, Assi-Pattel married Jem de Lovely And they spent the rest of their days sitting by the peat fire, watching the flames and telling each other stories, which I think was their happy ever after. It's nice when stories end and they lived happily ever after, as that one does. And I hope yours does too. So, goodbye from me. My name's Fiona, and goodbye from the wise man of the north of Scotland. See you again soon.